What's up, guys? Rick Denham here of Moly Outdoors. Thank you so much for joining us today. We got something really special for you. We are on the water today, as you can see, and what a great day this is going to be, because we are going to cover a little bit about a new technique for you guys to learn how to do. We're going to talk today about fishing blades for steelhead. And what we're talking about for blades, we mean the specialized different technique brought down from our friends up in Canada. They really pioneered this, guys, and we're here in the Pacific Northwest, and something that really hasn't been used much for myself and for a lot of other anglers. Now, what's really neat about this technique, guys, as we go into today, is you're gonna have a chance to learn how to get this set up, what are the right things to use, and the gear that'll get you there. So stay tuned today, you're gonna love this one. Alright, guys, so like I said, we are talking blades for steelhead, and really this is float fishing a spinner for steelhead, and this will also work great for salmon as well. So really, to get started, we'll back this up to the basics. This is going to be a straight, how to fish these 101. So I have learned from talking to a lot of different people, especially some of the manufacturers of these blades. Cleardrift Floats has a full selection and line of stinger blades, and these are a cool, really unique little Colorado blade that honestly is so simple, but it's effective beyond belief, guys. You can essentially float fish a spinner through runs and have fish absolutely annihilate these things. They don't hang up very often, so it's just a great way to change it up. Everybody else likes to throw the same colored jigs, maybe even a pink worm, but this is something totally different. So to get started and set up, what we're going to do is run through the whole thing. We're going to start with the basic float rod. Now, you can definitely do this with the spinning rod, guys. There's no saying you can't, but I have found that a preference will be to use a bait caster because of your line control. So we got two rods here, and we're going to show you just exactly what I'm talking about. So I have my G-Loomis float rod. Love this. It's a bait caster. This one happens to be just a 6 to 12. It's a perfect little steelhead rod. I got it with a bait caster, right hand retrieve with some braided line. Now this makes a huge difference when you're float fishing, because you can mend and pick that line up off the water, which gives you a better chance to have a better presentation. So as we then go down, we have a top shot of 15-pound. This is Bloodline floating mono. That top shot helps you get a little bit of lift off the line as well. And then we're running a Cleardrift float. This one happens to be a 1 ounce size. This is pegged with 2 bobber stops above and 2 bobber stops below. It keeps it from sliding up and down the line, so that way you can really control the depth that you're fishing. Because like I said, this is more of my traditional rigging. I would have this on a lot of my other stuff. So the only thing that we're really changing up is the terminal end. So I have a 1/2 ounce size float weight. That float itself is a 1 ounce model. So a 1/2 ounce of weight here for the inline float weight. Then I have 3 split shot staggered out. You could have them really close together, but I like the presentation of this because in the water it gives you a really nice drift. Then about 18 to 20 inches, I have my leader section, and at that end is the Cleardrift stinger blade. So what this will do in the water is that blade, because of those swivels, will spin, flutter, dive all over the place, and really will be effective. And because you have a bait caster, you can slowly let pressure off of the reel and allow that line to come out where you're keeping tension with the float. It's really, really effective and easy to do. Now, we'll go over here in a few minutes the actual casting technique and how you would fish these as well, but we're just going to show you this rigging first. So this is your standard traditional float rig with a bait caster. So when I said too there's an alternate rigging, This is a centerpin rod. I have got into this a couple years ago, and let me tell you guys, it's a whole new ball game for float fishing. The reason being is it's a lot more natural the way that this line comes off the reel, and allows for this to be presented almost with no resistance at all. So you can make the perfect drifts using this technique. So I'm running on this one 12 to 15 pound test mono. You can use whatever you would like, but I really like the feel of the mono. I have a 30 gram Cleardrift, which is basically about 3/4 to almost that 1 ounce size, just like we had on the other rod. This time I have it pegged as a fixed float here. I have 2 bobber stops on the bottom and 2 on the top with a corky on there that allowed me to really know exactly where my float's at. But again, we're pegging this to be a fixed float so you can effectively fish right at the deal itself. We then have down here a couple different, these are egg sinkers, and this allows us to really give a different presentation than that inline. We then have a float weight there with the barrel swivel at the end that gives you a little bit extra to help with the line twist. And again, we're going 18 to 24 inches, and we have our blade for the spinner. So very simple and effective, but that is your float reel with a centerpin rod. Super fun. So let's go out there now and we'll show you guys exactly how to fish this, and hopefully we'll get into something. So thanks. Alright guys, before we dive into showing you how to fish these, I want to go over the 3 different sizes that Cleardrift Floats provides in their stinger blades. Because let me tell you guys, it can cover every situation you run into. So we first have our large size. This happens to be a really nice big Colorado blade, creates a lot of flash. In your slower currents, this can really work well because just the slightest kick of that water will allow that blade to just a little bit of wiggle, or if you hold back the tension on your float, you can really get that thing to start to spin. So this is what I would prefer to use when the water is a little more murky or I'm fishing a little bit slow of a run. It gives a lot more ability for that thing to turn over. Then we got the medium size. Now this happens to be some of these really cool 50-50 colors. So here's a blue and silver, and I would love fishing this size in our normal size water. Like we have behind us today, this is the size that I would prefer to run because it's not anything too big and flashy. It's just right, but I'm also matching it to the run that's behind me. So this is my preferred normal size that I would go on a day-to-day situation. Then they have a small size, which is really cool because this gives you an option in the highly pressured areas that will really allow you to fish a smaller presentation, but at the same time getting that same effectiveness of fishing one of these blades when really no one else is doing it. So this for me comes into big time play in a high pressure area where there's a lot of people, or I will use this when the water gets low, because Steelhead will respond to hardware a lot of the time. So giving something a little bit different, again, just makes it so much more fun to see how these fish react. So that's just a couple different sizes there. They have a whole lot, so I would really recommend you guys go check out Cleardrift Floats. In this video description below, you will see a link to the stinger blades. You guys can go pick up yourself. Rob at Cleardrift Floats has a great selection, and I absolutely love what they have to provide. And like I covered in the first part of this video, float selection, I'll go over it again real quick. So you basically have a couple styles of Cleardrifts. I love these big water sizes for a lot of the water that I fish around here in the Northwest. So I'm usually running on these blade setups, the 3/4 or the 1 ounce size. This allows me to really have a good idea on how my bait and blade is really fishing in the water. There are some of these more cylinder sized floats out there too from Cleardrift. So these have a little bit different situation that they work and excel in. So I usually have both with me. just for the case that a situation may change and I need a little bit something different. But guys, that's the breakdown of the sizes of these blades. Let's go try and fish them out here and see if we can't pull a steelhead or something else out of this river. So take care, we'll see you in just a second. All right guys, we are gonna start fishing this, and I just wanted to show you a little bit how that looks in the water. Just holding back that float. Some really good spinning in that current. But basically, we got a nice little tail out run here, and I'm gonna show you how I like to fish this. There's two different ways, and I really enjoy being able to do both of these techniques, and they're very successful. So we'll show you here. The first, we are just gonna dead drift this baby through. No tension on this. Just gonna naturally let it go through the drift. And what this does is that current is gonna barely have that blade flutter, which really makes it its own way, just a different presentation. Now, what I can do throughout the drift as I'm free spooling this is I can stuck my thumb on this a little bit, which causes tension, and that float now is gonna swing across this way. And with the current now, I can feel the tension of that blade going. So now what I've done essentially is sped up and lifted the blade, but now I have it full spinning. Instead of a little flutter to maybe a little revolution every once in a while, you now have a full revolution of the blade. We'll do this again. Right off the edge of that chop water. We'll hopefully find a fish sitting right in there. And I'm now letting it dead drift. And when it gets to the little bit slower water there, and I want to pick it up, I'll just put my thumb tension on the spool, and now that float is going to start to swing. Just like you would swing a fly, just like you'd swing a spoon. Now you have the ability to get that blade fully turning, and can be really effective. Now we're fishing some pocket water in here, so these early steelhead could be anywhere. It's hard to say how many are around at this point yet, but this is a very effective technique for this water. And we're just gonna let that thing naturally get through the run there and just see what happens. So because that water right there is a little slower, I'm gonna hold tension on it, and I can swing that blade, well, even with a little bit of reeling, and really get it right up on through there. And like I showed you, I mean, you look at how that is in the water. That's with the tension. The less you have, the more it just gives a slight little turn. Super effective. And that's just with the regular float setup and the large size blade. So we'll go ahead with the center pin and show you guys that one. Okay, so we got the center pin rod now with our same blade setup, but we just got it rigged just a slight difference. The pink and silver. We moved to the upper half of the run, so we're looking at a little bit different current flow, but some nice little pockets to hit in here. So I'm going to show you guys same technique. This blade is going to spin super nice in the water. We're going to do it with a dead drift, and we're going to do it with a little bit of tension, but I'll show you how the center pin reel really helps you out. So I'm just going to dead drift it right now, but what you guys will notice is that the reel itself will free spool like it is. So I can pick up and leave less line on the water, but I can get that natural drift that the current wants to pull that float down and do. So now that I've fished where I feel like, I can put my hand on the spool itself and stop the line, and I can get that float to swing right into that little pocket that I'm looking at. And you never know, there could always be a fish sitting there. We'll reel it in, give it a few more casts. But this is a really fun technique, guys, and again, it's really not fished much here in the Northwest, and you can be really successful fishing away from people, in amongst the crowds, because it's different. So I have a lot of fun, honestly, with this technique. It's very, very effective. So just like so, you guys can see, I'm gonna fish this part of the inside run, dead drift, letting it naturally go, and then I want to go right off the edge of that rock, so I tension the spool up and allow that to swing right there. So now I can fish right along that really good drift. Do one more cast, then get a couple underwater shots for you guys.
Alright guys, thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed seeing that on the water footage and how to fish these steelhead blades. It's such a great technique, really, guys. And we're jumped on the computer here to showcase you how to find these on the Cleardrift website. Go ahead and type into Google Cleardrift Fishing, and from there you'll go to their webpage, navigate up to the top, and you will see their shop section. Under that drop down that pops up, you will also then see a section for the stinger blades. It showcases here the full color selection. You have options available, and you can click on one of those colors to learn a little bit more about the product. You can see the 3 different sizes that are there, as well as a rigging description. So hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I sure did. It's a great technique for you to have in your back pocket, and I cannot wait to hit the first winter steelhead of the year on this thing. So thanks so much. This is Rick Denham from Holy Moly Outdoors signing off. We'll take care and see you on the water. Fish on!